To explain a developmental pathway, I'm going to be using an example of a TV show called Better Call Saul, which may be a little deceiving at first considering the main character's name is actually Jimmy. So if you have not seen the show before, just a heads up, this may be a major spoiler alert. In this example, there are a few characters or proteins that we'll need to know. Harold, Chuck, Kim, Jimmy, and the Bar Association. Jimmy is attempting to get his law license reinstated, and his brother Chuck is testifying against him with the assistance of his law partner, Harold. Jimmy is unable to do this alone and receives a great deal of support from Kim throughout the series. So if we look at the example of the pathway below, we see that if the Bar Association is repressed, Jimmy is able to reinstate his law license. Jimmy is unable to find the strength to do this himself though, and he usually needs Kim present to repress Harold. Chuck, Jimmy's brother, is activated by Harold, as well as represses Jimmy. As you can see from this developmental pathway, the Bar Association is repressed, and Jimmy's law license becomes reinstated. But just for the sake of Hollywood alternate endings, let's look at how a few mutations to the plot could manipulate the ending of the series. If the show writers decided Chuck's character was a mistake and was removed from the show, the Bar Association would have no reason to not reinstate his license, so he would still get his license back because Kim is repressing Harold still. But what if Kim suddenly decided not to be as supportive and she leaves? Well, then Harold would stimulate Chuck, who would repress Jimmy, and he wouldn't be fit enough to get his license back. But let's imagine that the budget was too low for the TV series and they removed Kim and Harold. Well, here we see that Kim would no longer repress Harold, who is needed to activate Chuck. So Jimmy would have no one testifying against him to keep the Bar Association from denying his request, and he would then get his license back. Now, if the writers decided to remove Harold and Chuck, and they end up keeping Kim, well then I think it's safe to say that the show would have to take a whole different direction. So you'd not end up seeing this entire situation unfold at the end of the series, and it would take a whole different ending. Therefore, Jimmy would not be repressing the Bar Association. So as you can see, these changes, or mutations to the characters, aka proteins, have a substantial impact on the plot. If we looked at this pathway in terms of gene expression and regulation, there could also be major impacts if certain genes are turned on and turned off.